Welcome to Silent Achievers, Stories Beyond the Limelight. I'm Adam, your host. In this podcast, we dive into the untold stories of those who prioritize impact over attention. Join us as we celebrate the unsung heroes, the architects of progress, and the quiet innovators shaping our world with deeds, not declarations. Get ready for inspiring narratives that often escape the mainstream spotlight. This is where passion, dedication, and innovation take center stage. Welcome to Silent Achievers. Welcome to Silent Achievers. Today with Nick Pelletier, an ultra-endurance athlete, influencer, record holder, and business marketing graduate. Hello, Nick.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I wanted to start with some original question and now something special, but I wasn't able to get rid of one really basic question, and I guess you are getting this question all the time. How were you as a kid? And how did you even figure out that endurance, sports, and extreme adventures is something for you?
Yeah, I don't think I had an idea of this as a kid at all. I think I was a pretty normal kid. I played baseball from a young age. I played most sports, but I landed on baseball as kind of the one that I wanted to pursue. And I went to a sports specific high school. So instead of doing gym class, for me, it was baseball as our gym class. So for about a few hours a day, every day, we'd have baseball, and that's kind of where I learned to train as like a professional athlete. We have professional athletes in the gym we were in with NHL players, and I learned about nutrition there and strength and conditioning and everything. So I think that's kind of when I got into the actual training aspect of things. But as a kid, it was just kind of being curious with things and climbing trees and playing with your friends outside and kind of always just being curious about stuff. And I think as I've grown as an endurance athlete, that curiosity has kind of just moved from trees or to bigger projects, right? It's always interesting to me to just see how far you could go or cover an X distance by running or it is always kind of interesting to me. But yeah, I definitely didn't start there. Goal was to go play professional baseball, and had a bunch of concussion issues that kind of took me out of baseball once I was playing in university. So I played collegiate baseball, but after that is when I got into endurance sports because it was less impact and contact. And I swam as a kid and ran as a kid and did all that. So got into the triathlon and then raced that for a little while, short course, and then got into the ultra stuff because I felt like that's kind of what I enjoyed doing the most. So
It's amazing. What did you learn about yourself during these extreme physical and mental challenges?
yeah, I think they're all kind of just like metaphors for life. You know, you learn a lot in these challenges and these endeavors that you can utilize in everyday life. You know, it's not strictly reserved for high level endurance athletes or athletes in general. It's lessons that can be utilized in your relationships in your any adversity, right? And if you put yourself through this voluntary adversity, like you're the one putting yourself through this struggle, you learn to build the tools to handle adversity. So then when adversity comes involuntary in your life, in your relationships and whatever, you have those tools in place to combat that. So I think it's really been just a learning process. Like going out on my very first kind of ultra endeavor was I cycled across America solo when I was, I think, 20 years old, and each day it was just like a new experience. I didn't know where I was sleeping at nights. You didn't know how far you're going to go, what the weather was going to be, what I was going to eat. You just kind of get up and take things step by step. And I think I learned that you really do got to take things in life like one step at a time, one day at a time. You have to be kind of goal motivated, but process oriented. So you wanna have the goal at the center of what you're doing, but you want to be able to enjoy the process getting there, or else you're not going to be able to make it sustainable, right? You want to enjoy what you're doing. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember doing some ultra events, and I remember just, singing to myself, kind of telling myself jokes. What are you thinking about when you are cycling, running, swimming, whatever?
Yeah, I think it depends on the environment around me. So if it's really like calm water, or if it's really like a straight stretch of road with no cars, that's kind of when you can let your mind wander. And yeah, you really do think of any and all things. You start doing math about how far you've gone, how far you have left. You start thinking about because it's usually hard what you're doing. You think about what you'd rather be doing when it's not hard. Like you usually think about fun times with friends, family, and all that type of stuff, right? And then, but also when things are kind of more dire, when the weather's bad, when you kind of have to dial it in, then you're usually focused on just the task at hand, whether it's your stroke rate or your breathing or your or the cars around you if you're cycling or whatever it is. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, some people are using cycling or running as a kind of brainstorming activity. So did you come up with some interesting ideas when you were like tens of hours, hundreds of hours on bike?
Yeah, biking for sure, but I think even more is swimming because um with swimming I got earplugs in, and it's so like when you're cycling or running, you got the environment around you. When you're swimming, it really is just like nothingness in front of you. Whether you're in a pool, it's just the line on the bottom, or if you're in lakes or ocean, it's just kind of the blue or green. So yeah, you definitely let your mind think, and I've thought of a lot of other endeavors while I've been doing those things, other projects I want to do. Um, yeah, you think about business ideas, you think about all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's definitely a good kind of meditative brainstorming process, I think for sure. It
Mhm.
allows all the distractions kind of be quieted. So
Mhm. What role does the goal setting play in your preparations for the endurance events you are doing?
yeah, I think it's super important to have goals and have tangible goals that you can mark off as you go, right? I think you ultimately, like I said, have that main goal, but you have to have a process to get there, right? So usually when I start these endeavors or something, I'll have a big idea, and
Hmm.
then you might put that on the calendar or commit internally to yourself to get there. But then the process of actually even getting to the starting point of that goal involves finding sponsorships and talking to companies and the logistical side of if you need a crew or if you're going to do it so or what gear you need, if you're going to where you're going to stay, what you're going to eat. And you have to do all these things even just to get to the starting point, right? And then the goals shift and change. Now that you're at the starting point, the goal is to finish. And if the goal is to finish, then you have to fill in the blanks in between, right?
Hmm.
And it's always cool at the starting point of these endeavors because you know something's going to happen, but you're not sure what it is yet, right? So then just taking the first step or the first stroke or the first pedal is kind of putting yourself in motion, and then just whatever happens after that happens. But you always have to kind of have those goals in place and use the skills that you've learned. Um, and a big thing I learned was in that high school program for baseball was learning goal setting and actually how to sit down and have journals and like reflect on your days, your weeks, your months, and realize that, hey, I've reached this goal or I haven't, or like have something tangible to look at, and not just keeping them all in your head. Like I think writing them down and putting them out into the world is important to reaching them for sure. It holds you accountable.
Yeah. So do you prefer writing them down, or are you putting it online to your like Garmin account or something?
Yeah, so I record basically most of my workouts with my watch at Coros, but yeah, I do journaling. I've done it for the past about 4 years. I do it every day, so um, I find that really helps. Is somebody who's helping mentor me, they were saying that experience is really important, but you don't learn from the experience itself. You learn from reflecting on that experience, right? Because most of us have made the same mistake twice. So if you learn
Mhm.
from the experience, you wouldn't do that, right? You learn from actually looking at the mistake or looking at what you accomplish and like reflecting on it. So I think that for me, writing these things down, getting them out of my head, because I know for me, it's really, I get in my head a lot. And I just, I like to get it down on paper and just kind of get my thoughts out there. And then it's also good to have something to refer back to because let's say it's the day before a swimming endeavor or something. I can look at how I was feeling a day, 2 days, 3 days before one of my last swimming endeavors and see if I was feeling the same type of way and if that swim was successful, what I did before it, and you
Mhm.
can look back on it, right? So it's kind of having a paper trail of your life and being able to look back and whether you use it or not, it's there if you need it. So
Mhm. You already mentioned it a little bit, but what role does the effective communication play? And I'm assuming that you are the main athlete, but there is a huge team behind you, or there is definitely some people, helping you during the process. So how does the effective communication work there?
yeah, so um to be honest with you, I do most of my own stuff. I do all my
Mm-hmm.
own social media and I do all my own logistical planning and my coaching and nutrition and everything. So when it's time to do a project, let's say like swimming, that's one that I do need a crew and a team to help with because you need a support boat, you need kayakers, you need people to give you your food, you need all these things. So when that happens, I usually go to the people who have helped me in the past or people I can really trust. And they're ones who they'll do anything for me, and I know that, and that's how I kind of choose the crew that I bring. And yeah, it's important to have those people that can can have your back when things get tough and do what's needed to do to get the job done, even if it means they're tired or they're
Yeah.
sick or they're in some discomfort as well, right? So you gotta know that they're invested in the goal as well, and that just comes with time over your life, right?
Mhm.
Like experiences together and conversations and everything like that. But yeah, for the most part though, it is mostly me. I got team Find Grit helping with like coaching and
Mhm.
stuff. They have a platform for that. So it's good having that team that we have group meetings and stuff with. But for my personal endeavors, basically everything comes through me. So
That's impressive. That's really cool. So you have to make yourself accountable for every training, basically. How do you think about recovery? Because I can imagine that we talked about it a little bit before this interview that you are still recovering after the Hawaii. So how does your recovery look like? Because you just told me that you are going to swim today, run, probably lift. So how do you think about
yeah.
recovery?
Yeah. Still got the jellyfish stings and
Oh yeah.
everything from Hawaii, but yeah, today will be my first swim back actually. So my swim was on March 18th, and I haven't swam since then. So I was just kind of today going to go in and just try really light, just see how the shoulders are feeling and everything. But it's nice with the sports I do because swimming, cycling, and running, they all kind of complement each other well. So for example, if your shoulders are kind of beat up like mine are after this swim, this past few weeks or couple weeks, I've been running a lot more because my legs have been super fresh since I've been doing mostly swim training. And obviously, you use your legs with swimming, but it's not the same as running a lot or lifting and things like that or cycling. So yeah, I've been back running after my Hawaii trip, and I think it's no matter what happens to me, if something's injured or I always try and figure out what I can do. I think I like to be solution oriented, not problem focused. So
Hmm.
always looking at what I can do and recovery is definitely super important. But for me also on the mental side of things, I like to always be doing something. I feel the best when I am consistently going towards a goal. So, and I know all these things that I do, whether it's running, cycling, or swimming, they're all helping to into the same kind of pot, right? So it's all helping my cardiovascular fitness, my
Mm-hmm.
respiratory fitness, my endurance, my mental. So then it's kind of just like specializing more so your training when you get closer to an event, right? But if I don't have a specific event planned on the horizon, then I kind of just incorporate all three, and that way it allows me to train more because while one part of your body's resting, you can utilize the other, and then so forth like that. So yeah, recovery is definitely important, and I think this is also that reflection time when I said it's
Mm-hmm.
important to take the time to reflect on the what went well and what went wrong, and how you can do it better next time. And I always am very excited right after an event because it feels like I want to just do it again right away because I've learned
Mm-hmm.
so much. But obviously, you do need to take time to rest your body and recover, and then kind of get that fire back in you. But I've been pretty motivated since the swim and everything, so it's been good.
That's what I wanted to ask. What is the first thing you do after you finish something this long, swimming, biking? Are you going to bed immediately or are you eating something specific? What is the plan
Yeah,
after?
yeah. You always think usually it's like you want to you always think about food, or that's another thing I think about while I'm doing them is a nice meal or what food you want to have. Um, but honestly, what after like something like swimming where you because you eat basically every 30 minutes, 45 minutes, right? So you're having like, and it's usually just like gels or electrolyte mix. It doesn't really sit well in your stomach a lot of the time. So I don't really usually feel like eating after stuff like that. And it's nice to sleep, but a lot of the time you are in like quite a bit of pain still, or your mind's kind of ramped up, and you've had like tons of caffeine to stay up or things, so it's hard to sleep. But usually, you just try and like shower and yeah, just usually rest right away. But the ones where my family or friends are there at the finish, it's always nice to just have people you love around you and kind of celebrate with them a bit in the next days or so to come, and then yeah, then just take some time. I always like to take some time alone, and that comes either usually cycling or running or swimming or whatever I've been doing. I'll do something else so my
Mm-hmm.
body can rest in that. But taking the time to just do a really light, low intensity workout and just kind of think about no music or no podcasts, and just think about everything I've done and what I can do better in the future. So
Mm-hmm.
always looking forward, but definitely appreciating the things I've accomplished or the things that I've attempted, and then learning from them. So
Yeah, they say that triathletes are really good in kind of saying what went really badly during the
yeah.
race. So how does success look like for you, you know? Because you usually always want to be better, you always want to change something, you see a lot of like what went badly, not really the positive things. So how do you stay motivated in a way, but also how do you recognize you achieved something?
Yeah, I don't think motivation is ever a problem for me because I have so many things I want to achieve. It's just a long list, and I have a long list, and I honestly don't think I'll ever achieve them all, right? Because even if I did, I think I'd think of more things. So it really is just appreciating the projects you work on, and taking them for what they are. And success, it always definitely comes when you've accomplished the thing you set out to do. You said you're going to bike from here to here, you're going to swim from here to here, whatever it is. If you pull up on the shore and you punctuate that, and you did what you said you're going to do, that definitely feels like success. But I also feel like success comes when you attempt something that lots of people say is crazy or stupid or why would you do that, and I think that putting yourself in that position, even to attempt something or to learn or to get different experiences that very few people walk the earth get, right? And then
Mhm.
to do that in different disciplines, it really excites me because I don't only want to be a swimmer or only a runner or cyclists. I also want to skydive. I also want to base jump. I also want to be a mountaineer, right? I want to do all these different things, and it takes a long time to, if I just swam, I might be a better swimmer than I am now, or if I just ran, but I'm trying to build all these things up at the same time so I can be versatile across the board. And I think for me, being a versatile person and using the experiences that I've learned from these endeavors to be a better person in my relationships, in my life, that's success for me. But it
Mm-hmm.
is yeah, it is tough though when you don't actually achieve the goal you set out to. But I also think that providing motivation, inspiration for other people is a success to me. And I think getting back up when you've failed or having completed your goal is success as well. When
Mm-hmm.
you learn what you've, or you take what you've learned and you implement it and you try again, I think that's success as well. So
Yeah, I feel like failure can be really diverse. You don't always need to see it as failure. It's just something that didn't work for some reason, but uh, as you said, you can learn from it. But what I wanted to ask is storytelling and how do you approach storytelling of what you do? Because I can imagine that doing social media, needing some support from sponsors requires you sometimes to do some stories. So were you ever thinking about like two activities and you were like, okay, this is maybe better story for now, and I can save the other activity for future?
hmm yeah, I think no matter what you're doing, the way you tell the story
Hmm.
is important, right? Like you could do a very mundane thing and a good storyteller will be able to grip people and want them to come along with the on the journey, right? So yeah, I think for the projects I choose, it is based on what kind of where I'm at in my life at the time, and I think it is important to me though to film the things I do or to record them in some fashion, because to me, I've made videos since I was a kid. I've made videos on everything I've ever done basically, and not only do I, it's great when other people see it and they get motivation or you get views from it and others, all the things that come from that. But I've made videos when I was getting no views at all and I would make them just for myself, right? Like I have countless videos I've never even posted that I've just made, and having all these experiences that you can go back on and look at, and like I said, you can remember kind of where you started. Like my first trip across America, I look at that now and kind of some of the things I was doing and what I looked like and all sorts, and it's just like you look at how far you've come, but it also provides you inspiration, motivation, because you don't forget where you came from, right? And I think all the people that have followed me from back then, they can see how far I've come and how far I've grown, and then the people that start to follow me from the new things I do, they can go back and look at that thing and see like, oh wow, like that's where he started, that's where he came from, and I think just like incorporating everything I do is it's just one long story throughout my whole life that I want to tell, but each project I do is just a new chapter, a new piece, right? So
Hmm.
it's that's kind of how I choose the projects I do or how I record them is I want to record everything and then tie everything together with the experiences I've had and what I've learned. But yeah, it's more so just what I'm focused on at the time and just bring people along whatever way I can. So
Yeah. Yeah, I encourage everyone to go to your social media accounts, to your website, because it's amazing to follow the stories, to read through it. And as you say, each one has its kind of its own chapter and you can just watch it as a movie, and it's like a series, I would say. And
yeah,
it's it's
exactly.
it's it's pretty cool. What unexpected lesson have you learned from participating in ultra endurance events?
Unexpected lesson. I think probably humility.
Hmm.
I You get humbled by a lot of these things you do. So I think swimming is a big one. It's probably the endeavor that training wise and everything I'm the least fond of, but I feel like I probably get the most from swimming. I think it's probably the hardest endeavor to do.
Mhm.
Like if you take a 50K run, a 50K cycle, or 50K swim, it's like they're wildly different, right? So swimming, it definitely I think is the hardest endeavor I do on the ultra side. But I think I learned a lot from swimming. It's one of those ones where, like I said, you don't have you don't have the external motivators of like seeing your tangible progress on a map where you go by landscapes, or like you're seeing things like in running or cycling. Swimming, so like it's almost like a sensory deprivation tank, even especially when you're swimming at night and stuff like that, right? So you're going forward and you don't have any of these things coming in, and you really have to count on the people that are around you to help out, right? Like your crew has to be the ones to give you your food. The crew has to be the ones to let you know you're on track, and make sure you're going the right way. And even if you can't go in the boat and stuff, they're there to help you, right? And a lot of these lessons you learn, you kind of get humbled, or I found anyways, because like my Okanagan Lake swims, it took me 3 attempts to get it done, right? And even this most recent Hawaii swim between Molokai and Oahu, I trained like crazy for it, and with the jellyfish stings and the currents and everything, I didn't end up finishing it, but I got really close, and it's frustrating too when you get so close. I was only like 15K away, which is a normal training swim, right? You go to the pool for a few hours, but it's realizing that Mother Nature, when you go up against it, it's not no finish is ever guaranteed, right? All you can guarantee is the effort you put into it, and whatever comes after that happens. But on the day of, you kind of have to hope that Mother Nature allows you to battle it a bit, because if it wants to, it's going to give you no choice chance to finish, right? So I think I've learned humility throughout these things, and when I went into my Okanagan Lake swim, I kind of achieved everything I've ever set out for. Like when I was playing college baseball, I wanted to play that, and I did, and I had to stop because of my concussions. But when I wanted to race triathlon, I started doing that, and I got to race on the national level and in Switzerland, and then I rode across America, and I set all these goals, and they just kind of they were hard, but they happened. And then I kind of went into that Okanagan swim with the same confidence, and I got really humbled by the elements and by just how hard it was. So then I went back to the drawing board, tried to fix things, and fixed a lot, but then failed again from different things, right? And it took me 3 times to do that, and then I was successful. And then I tried to use those lessons, implementing it in now ocean swimming, but it's a whole different game, right? So I failed on this first one, and I'm definitely going to be back and taking more attempts. But just humility, like on the big ultra swims I've done, I'm like 1 for 4 on them, right? But that one success, it was like one of the greatest moments of my life, right? I wouldn't change it for the world. So that's like years and years of struggle and pain and lessons that all came into like one cumulative moment, right? So I think humility is a big one I learned from it.
Yeah, I like you said that 15K is normal training. I believe that many listeners are uh, really surprised that 15K is normal training. But I like to end with advice. And you already said you are also coaching, you had mentors. Now I believe you are a mentor yourself. So, what is one piece of advice you would give to beginner in endurance sport?
Yeah, I think it's definitely don't be afraid of a beginner's mindset. Like all these things I've done, I was not an endurance athlete when I started. And trust me when I say that, like I played collegiate baseball, which is an explosive short distance sport, right? You're trying to explode in the batter's box, explode out when you're running, stealing bases, like when you're fielding, everything's fast, fast, fast. So there really was no endurance at all. I swam as a kid, but I really hadn't swam in years. I remember my very first triathlon, and I just wanted to do one in high school as a sprint triathlon, and I was a competitive swimmer when I was a kid, but I stopped to play baseball. But here comes high school, and I remember signing up for a triathlon, and I went to do. I went at the front pack of the swimmers. I was like, oh, I can swim good, but I hadn't swam in years, and I went in, and I remember just like barely making it through the 750-meter swim. At like the halfway point, I was about to like grab the buoy, like I was done, right? And then you realize, like, again, with the humility, like, oh, I'm not where I once was, or I'm not where I want to be. Like, I'm a very beginner now. But then I think it's just finding people like coaches or people who know what they're doing to kind of get you started and give you a framework and a platform to start building, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just building it brick by brick by brick. And it takes a long time, but there's no better time than the present to start, right? And it's the same with all these endeavors. It's not just I was a beginner in cycling, running, swimming, skydiving, like everything, right? And you always have that kind of anxious feeling that you don't belong, you don't fit in, but you have to realize that all these people that are at a high level, they were once at your spot, right? Like they may have started younger and they've been at a different spot at the age that you're at now, but that doesn't mean that you can't get there starting from where you're at. There's no right time to do things. There's no wrong time. It's the effort you put in and the time that you want to spend doing it. And you can expedite your learning process a lot. You can get ahead of a lot of people who started earlier than you if you commit more time to it, right? So it's all about committing time. But again, it's something that you want to have that goal of getting better, but you want to follow that process of getting there. And you want to be able to enjoy that process to reach that point. Otherwise, you'll burn out. And it's all right too if you try something, you find out it's not for you, you know? It's not something you're married to and you have to do. It's just start and try, and then if you like it, keep going.
Awesome. I appreciate your time. Good luck with all other challenges in the future, and thank you for your inspiration.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you for having me.